All right, testing 1, 2, 3. Am I on the internet? I apologize if my contacts revolted in my eyeballs this morning. You guys ever have that happen? Your contacts are like, you know what? Today, we're gonna try to burn your eyeballs out or something. I don't know. I think they're calming down. Take them out, clean them, take them out. So if I look like I'm red-eyed, bloodshot, it's contact lenses. But anyway, hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome. My name is Kurt. I am a comic book colorist. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Good morning to Kurt and everyone. Hey, Jason, how's it going? You guys aren't hearing any music, right? Let me know if you... I don't think you are. I found an ADHD channel. I don't know if I have that, but I like the music. Yeah, it's called Green Red Productions, but they do a lot of just soothing, stuff. Okay, no music, good, because I don't want to get copyright infringement, blocked, shadow banned, whatever. Welcome to the Color Dome. Welcome everybody. So today, we're gonna pick up where I left off last time, and hopefully we'll finish this today. I'm thinking we probably will. And let me put my drink on a coaster so we don't make a mess. Looking awesome already. 2 hues enter, 1 hue leaves. When did this become a wrestling themed puns? How am I? I'm good. All right. Let's see. Where were we? So let me explain this for anybody that wasn't here last week and it's like, oh, this is a lot. Let's see. Let's turn all this off and let's see what's underneath. Okay, so this is the line art. This is by Mr. Gavin Michelli. This is Skelly by Michelli. If you would, you probably wouldn't. Anyway, good friend of mine, also inked. Good friend of mine in the way that we talk on Twitter every 4 to 5 years. And same with the inker Roland Paris, who is amazing. He inked this. But yeah, Gavin and Paris. And they're really good at what they do. And so they have thrown me an alley-oop like Gary Payton to Sean Kemp. And then all I have to do is dunk it, right? We're mixing all the metaphors today. All right, so I'm going to delete that. And we'll get back to where we were. All right, so the first thing I did was this. And you're like, oh, that doesn't look anything like anything that you were doing. And it's right, because this is just the flats, right? And the flats really don't mean anything to me because they are a utility layer, okay? I am just using them. This is the wiring that is under the art, all right? This is... You crack this open, you're seeing behind the panel box. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's all the flats are, okay? I'm going to set my wand, the auto select tool, as they call it in this app for some reason. Probably copyright reasons. They don't care about that in Japan. Anyway, you set this to selection for referred layers. And no matter what layer you're on, it will always pick from that layer. Ooh, okay. So I could be up here on the inks layer and I can do this and I'm picking from my flats layer. And you're like, what is this red thing you keep showing me? The red thing is the quick mask, which is a selection mode, which I'm not really going to get into today. I just use it to look at the selection because it's easier to look at than the little marching ants. I have a problem with the marching ants, as someone last week pointed out. That is true. I don't like them. You can't see them very well. You can see this a lot better. Okay. And then stream notes is where I'm going to scribble things to y'all later. So the base colors, here's the rest of the owl, sorry. The base colors on this are not really base colors. Like we're doing something different than I normally do on this, which is not worrying about colors first. I'm just going to values first, because we're going to take all these videos and turn them into a 10-minute coherent coloring lesson. And we're building it one dimension of color at a time. And so we're starting with the first, which is value, okay? Value. This stick right here, this vertical line that represents every possible color in the rainbow, right? All right. But when we do this, why are we doing value first? Well, one, it has the most impressive contrast, and as human beings, our eyes are tuned to notice value differences greater than anything else. So as an artist person, this is your secret weapon, okay? The example that I give all the time is, and people on my channel are probably like, I know what he's gonna do the tiger thing. He's gonna do the tiger thing. Yeah. So we survived to this point in this realm because we were able to see tiger like right in there. And it's different from everywhere else. He's right there. You can barely see him. But your eye notices that difference. And the people that notice the difference in grass, tiger, grass, before everybody else, they passed on their brain cells and thinking processes and all that stuff. And the people that went, isn't the grass pretty? They didn't make it, all right? So this theory of art and color here is not really an art theory. It's sort of a theory of life. But anyway, that's for another day. Today, we're using that weapon. We're creating the grass. We're creating a pattern, and then we're putting the tiger in there, like in almost every possible way. That's what we're doing. We create a pattern of light and like gray stuff, and you break that pattern with a big dark Skeletor, right? And then he created a pattern when he drew this that you go, oh, look at that pattern, and then he broke that pattern with something interesting. All right, this is all over the place. Where are we at? All right, so there we go. There's that. Let me delete all these layers I keep making for some reason. All right. And so anyway, these are my base colors. Everything here is effectively almost 50% gray and less on him. It's very close. So everything on him is less than 50% gray. Everything above him is well above that for the most part. And that seems like, well, that's obvious, right? You have a dark area, you have a light area, but a lot of my students around here and a lot of you commenters, I see you, and I see you underestimating the power of taking the time to learn how to do values. You're like, values are hard. I tried it and everything was the same, and congratulations, you don't understand color yet, okay? What this does is this creates a map for us for the rest of this canvas, because you're effectively saying, at this point anyway, I'm ruling out putting anything dark in the background. Well, what does that do for my color choices? Like, it limits them tremendously, right? And if this shape is what I'm trying to reinforce, and I need that to feel darker than everything around it, then again, I'm putting a cap on how light things in this area can be and still maintain the plan. You know, if I start throwing around like these colors in this area, it's like this, when we back off of this, it's like, okay, it's interesting, but we've lost the triangle, okay? We have lost the massive triangle that is this composition, right? But if you know where your colors are going to start, then by process of elimination, you've ruled out half the colors. And some of you guys that have a hard time like picking colors, it's because you're looking at this box and you're going, there are 16.7 million options here. I don't know where to begin. And it's like you're trying to build the third floor of the house before you dug out the foundation yet. Like there's steps to this, like, right? So as I progressed through all of this and rendering all of this, I kept that in mind at every stage. And in all of the places that I really want you to see what is happening here, which is like, you know, this is it, right? This is the guy in the middle of the drawing. So the differences between the lightest parts and the darkest parts is greatest right here. It's greatest right along that silhouette edge. The darkest stuff is here. This is a little bit darker than all this going down. Everything in these squares is considerably lighter than everything up here. Because if I measure, you know, from here to here value-wise, they're actually pretty close. There's the value from his skull. Put it up there, you can barely see it. Up here, it's a neutral color. But that same value here is a dark color. You notice I did not change the color there. All right? This is relativity. Like, this is the difference. If I draw a line across these two, you can see that they're the same. Okay? So this is an excellent measurement. The difference between the light and the dark here is much greater on this scale than the difference over here. Okay? That's probably enough for now. I think that horse has been beaten on value. Okay. So let's turn the inks back on. And let's turn this back on. And where the stage that we're actually at right now are the highlights. All right. And the highlights, I've started to pull. You're like, oh, I thought you said everything had to be dark. No, I didn't say everything had to be dark. Listen to what I'm saying. So now, let's pretend that this is our canvas. Just this, all right? Let's block out. Pretend the rest of it doesn't exist. Okay, well, now it really doesn't exist. Hold on. Let's do... Turn all of that on. Mask that off. Nope. Mask that off. There we go. All right. Let's pretend this is our canvas for a second, all right? Why isn't that? That's supposed to be dark. There we go. Merge down. So in my mind, I have this pattern of mostly gray colors, right? It's just like the canvas. Even these quote-unquote bright things down here on his abs and all that, they're really not that bright. So when I start doing my highlights, I'm playing the same game again, okay? Except this time I'm making sure to direct you to the places that I want you to notice. You know, his face, these bones. But you see how if we back off of this enough, there's more light here, a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less. Like there's a gradient going down, okay? You with me? It's like your brain is observing how to color correctly, like Neo in the Matrix. You know Kung Fu. Once you know this, you actually know the secret to all of life. But that's for another day. Is everybody with me so far? So in essence, the reference layer on a selected area usually refers to the primary layer with the base flats. I don't quite understand your question, Constantinus. C. So the flats are there to provide a structure just for me to grab things and select things. Like, that's the only purpose of... You can think about it as a bunch of stencils, okay? So I can go down to my stencil, put it down, and then paint on my stencil. And then pull it away. And go grab another stencil and paint on it. This is the power of putting all of your flats on one layer instead of 87 YouTube tutorials, all of you. In Clip Studio, if you set your... It's a joke. If you set your flats as the reference layer, you never have to click on it again to make a selection from the flats. People don't underestimate the time that you spend off and on the canvas is like what wastes a lot of time. Just like me right now yammering about this. So we're 17 minutes in. This is good, decent stuff, but I should probably color something. But yeah, they're just there for mechanical purposes. Like, they don't actually come through. Okay? Creatively at the end. Not the way that I work, because I put down random colors for the sake of time, and I'll figure out what the colors will be when I'm working this way. But anyway, we're doing his lower body and the rocks with details on this highlight layer. And I'm just doing all the highlights in white on this because later on, when we start goofing around with gradient maps or blending modes or some other crap probably to make this look to get this started on the color. What am I doing on this? I'm doing this kind of stuff. Okay, I had to remember. We had our member stream this was that Sunday. It was a really good one, I thought. We had some amazing art, which means we got to talk about a lot of what makes just art good. And talked a lot about lighting specifically, rendering specifically. And we've been doing this on my channel for like 6 or 7 years. And so it's so cool to see all of my minions that are like out doing coloring stuff, and even if it's like, if it's for a publisher, if it's like to color their kids' drawings, like, I'm really appreciative of all of those people. And all 7 years of classes, or 6 years, are available on YouTube as wherever. Yeah, sign up, click buttons, Patreon memberships. Anyway, had a really good time though. Really good time. I feel like I have to learn more and get better to better explain what I'm doing. And so we're 7 years in, and I'm saying this to tell you all about it. Sure, I don't talk about it enough. But it's a really good value for $5 a month. Especially that you get all of those years when you sign up in one playlist. I mean, it's a good deal, good deal. And you can see my my mental health struggles updates over the years also, which if you watch any of those at speed, I'm sure is jarring. Like, wait, this guy was doubled over in pain. Now he's doing jumping jacks. What? Yeah. The vibe shifts a little bit over time, but it's always a good, fun time, and it's always educational. And you post your work on Discord. I go through there and go for it. Anyway, there's the hard pitch for the rest of the day. I really like using white as a highlight, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of like gradient maps or thinking about doing something like that. It really helps to, what's the word? It gives you the full range, you know, when you've got light and dark and light and dark. And also an excellent way to tell if a photo is, or a drawing or a painting is AI, because somebody pointed this out the other day. I can't remember where, but they're like, they all push like the values. They know you have to have you have to have some white, you have to have black. They all have this full dynamic range. Like you very rarely see like, let me see if I can like duplicate this real quick. Probably not. Oh yeah, well something like this where like everything is really, really light with just like dabbles of whatever. Like it tends to really like mathematically push the range into every corner, and it's like it's really obvious once you see it, once you start looking for it. I need to study these color theory videos of yours. Save them when I don't want to go to the webs and not get lazy. I appreciate it. The reference layer, you can use any color, not necessarily your primary flats. It helps separate different things you want to color faster. Exactly. Like a lot of times I will get flats that, well, I don't need to show you, but I'll get flats that look like, you know, what are those things called? Like a blacklight drawing, like just super intense neon colors, just to make it obvious where all the separations are. Because again, they don't, like the base colors are covering all of that, you know. Anyway. But yeah, we're gonna do a little bit more rendering on this, and then I'm guessing the coloring is actually relatively is not gonna take anywhere near as long. But that's the cool part, is this all is gonna come through. Because we can do a lot of stuff on top of this, but ultimately it's all gonna be there. Alrighty. What else? What else? We've got... Oh, we got the cape. But yeah, I'm just trying to think of like in my imaginary lighting setup I have going on here, like what of these areas would reflect that light back into the camera? And where would it fade out? Where would it come forward? And the values alone here, this is almost, I mean, yes, it's a value stage, but it's also like the detail stage. Because some of this, I'm going to push and pull around, and it's not necessarily going to stick out as much as it is once you add the color on it. And so yeah, like some of this where it's like going to be darker, it's easy to shift that with levels later. Because right now, like, it all is just, there's like the, what am I trying to say? Use your words. The lighting is not directional, it's kind of very ambient and spread out all over the place. And so again, some of that's just going to be toned down for the overall vibe of this thing. Your biggest weakness is worrying on what you want to improve on. Maybe taking a few days to color will help me improve my visual library and my conscious brain remember. You can pause that sentence after the first 4 or 5 words usually. My biggest weakness is worrying. Like worrying is a drag on the brain. Like the brain wants to be like soft and supple, and it reacts to whatever your body is doing, and your body reacts to what your mind is doing. And so if you're worrying, it's under tension. And this system that you are, it's meant to be like a spider web, or it's meant to just hang in your skull, and all the brain cells just chill, and you worry, and sections, like it's like sticking a twig in the spider web and twisting it. It's like, ooh, well, now the whole thing's under tension. Like that's worrying. So you let the worry out, let the web get back. You go, oh. How you do that? I'm like a meditation fan, but whatever works for you. Just something to focus on. Let's see. You think AI will take over comics? I mean, it'll take over the areas that people don't value. Like, the people that value AI art don't really value art. Like, in general. And so, like, people that don't value art, I don't think are going to win out. Like, sure, there's going to be plenty of people that go, oh, I can get on Fiverr now and order my commission for $11 and get exactly what I want. And they can, but there's no humanity in it. There's no life in it. And there's no connection in it. And I just don't think over a large enough time scale, we tend to be impatient. This stuff is moving so fast. People that care about art are still going to buy art. And people that never cared about art still don't care about art. So I'm not worried about it. Is it going to change things for some people? Is there going to be a flatting app one day that I'm probably, you know, you're going to go, I want this to be blue and orange. And it's going to go, okay, it's blue and orange. Like, I do know that I think there's nuance and middle ground in all of this that must be found. Because, like, AI bad, computers bad, yes, but it's also a gross oversimplification of what's happening, you know. And what's happening exactly then, smartass? I don't know. Not really. I just know that I don't believe it's going to end art. I mean, somehow there are 35 people in here that could be doing anything, and they're watching some idiot draw light onto a drawing and being sufficiently entertained or educated or just felt nice to chill. That stuff matters. And I think it will win against the evil robots trying to make art. It's going to get really interesting over the next couple of years because I don't think anybody's ready for what's going to be possible. But in a way, like it will, the tools will allow all sorts of creation of things that wouldn't exist without it. And especially in like gaming, like people are just now scratching the surface of like what's going to be possible there. And I'm not saying like straddle the fence and, you know, don't be against AI art and all. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying find a place of neutrality in your emotions about it. Because like your emotions don't have to drive your body. They don't have to drive your mind. You can have them. You can have it. You can be angry. It's righteous anger to be angry at all of this stuff that's going on that you don't understand or don't like or don't agree with or whatever. But I learned this lesson that you can't let it dictate your day to day. And putting the opposite energy into the world of creating is the solution. I mean, ultimately, it's the solution for a lot of things. Doesn't AI art scrape finished artwork and then compile? Yes, yes, it does, and it's theft. It's outright theft. But there was no one there to stop them, and there was no laws set up to prevent it. And people are going to get away with what they can get away with. I'm not justifying it. I don't like it either. It just is. You know, the pendulum on all this stuff will swing back. I feel pretty confident about that. You know, what's the thing from The Incredibles? When everyone's super, no one is. Like, this stuff is all coming toward like a singularity of bullshit that is all going to come crashing down, and at some point we will forget that we spent all this time and mental effort for something that was going to resolve itself over time. And that's a pretty good life lesson too, I think. Here, let's point to the silhouettes here. Is that? Oh, that's way too obvious. I'll do something to brighten those things up later. All right. Not idiot, great teacher. Although my wife is going to kill me. What were you doing for 2 hours? Dude, this is valuable stuff. Oh, man. Let's see. I want this light shape to go that way. And then that way. Oh, I don't need that to be so clean. What is my brush doing other than weird stuff? There we go. Excellent. All right, and mush that up a little bit. We got to cover our tracks. I'm really not doing a lot of super digitally stuff on this so far. All right, so I did sort of a quick abbreviated version of this last week. But I'm thinking now would be a good time to do a quick recap on this. And also, I'm going to put a second window. Where is OBS? There, I'm trying to frame it pretty. There we go. All right. Now we can see the whole thing, and when I zoom up, we can still see the whole thing. So, where to begin? So I'm actually going to start by reminding everyone that's just joined us that, sorry, I've got a new keyboard. It's split, and I can't find the keys. So the values on this are what are going to be a map for all of the other color choices, or at least to get them leaning in the right direction. Most everything in the front panel is dark. Everything in the plane behind it is light. And I want to keep that feeling in the saturation, not just the value. So I'm actually going to, on this drawing, my plan for this is to have, what's it called? Have the background be very fiery and hot, like very, very intense. And then have all the colors on him be very, very subtle and very desaturated. And saturation is hard for a lot of people because you're working with value. Hold on. How messy is my room? Oh, it's not bad at all. You can't see much. Okay, sorry. Face warning. color, let's see, we go this way too? Yeah, we can see that. All right. Perfect. So we tend to think in value in terms of up and down. In the color wheel, that's how it is, or the color picker thing, right? So it's light at the top and dark at the bottom. And values that are close together in that system create very little tension, very little contrast, right? It's like, I'm looking for, like, the edge of this Spider-Man poster that I can't point at, and the edge of the stack of books. Can you make out the difference there? Like, I can't. Like, it's just all dark, right? So there's so little contrast that there's no difference at all. All right? But then as we take that and we stretch it up toward white, and we start bringing it up toward white, we can see the little bright books here that are in a stack, and we see some of these others that are sticking out, and we can see the yellow of Spider-Man up here, obviously, in that background. Like, so that difference in the value is very obvious. My Zion Williamson jersey, again, low contrast with the background, low tension, all right? So that's value. That's one dimension, okay, that you can compare colors in. And then you have the color wheel that's going around the whole thing, okay? And you're like, well, how does this all, I don't understand. All right, so value is here, and right in the middle in a straight line, all right? So that's black to white with all the grays in the middle, okay? So if you go from that gray line outward, it makes a circle, okay? And we're adding saturation as we go out toward that circle, that cylinder. The color wheel goes all the way around, all right? Warm side, cool side, value, saturation, and then hue is a circle. All right, you guys with me? That's why color is hard. You're trying to make 2D measurements and comparisons in a 3D system, okay? So for those of you that didn't feel that quite as much, let me do this a different way. Because you have to understand where the colors are, or none of this is going to make sense. So, is this it? Yeah, okay. Oh, where can I? Let's do it this way. This is not to scale. cheese wheel of color. All right. This is in RGB or CMYK, so I'm going to put this in. I want you to see all the actual reds here, so I'm going to put this back in RGB. Let's not think about printable colors here for just a second. All right, orange, yellow, green, purple's over there. All right, yellow, as we get toward the center, it gets more and more gray. Orange, as we get more and more the center, it gets closer to gray. Lowering the saturation toward gray. You're going to make me connect blue all the way around this, aren't you? Because it's a terrible scaled drawing. But there is a lot of green on the wheel. It does feel like it. Anyway, something like this. All right. And then we have the values going up. And the values going down. And along here, actually, Let me make this easy on myself. I can't find the Windows key. There we go. Let's see what happened to my drawing here. Oh, there it goes. Let's see. We're gonna edit, paste. I don't remember. Scale rotates. There we go. Okay. Are you with me? The color cake. That's right. I did a video on this a while back. Yeah, caveman color theory. This is a different way of looking at it. But yeah, if you want to see my original mad scientist way of trying to explain this, look for caveman color theory on my channel. There's a couple videos. But anyway, I did all that to show that the color picker that we work with is what we are spinning around. Like, so we are spinning around this cake and we are seeing the slice in the square. Like, this is the only way that we can show all 3 dimensions, you know, without resorting to a 3-dimensional color picker, which someone needs to help me make. I need somebody with better 3D skills than me. But do you see now how when you're measuring saturation, you can make those measurements. You're making it toward the center of the cake, right? You're making it in this direction. And there's just as much contrast in that direction as there is in this direction. There's as much of a possibility for it. Okay? So when you're picking, you know, a dark red against a light green, it is going through this 3-dimensionally, right? Toward that color. And it's passing through all these grades and things on the 2D color wheel. You guys have seen me use a bunch probably. But, or it's actually across here. You would see it looking at it from the top. So this is why, like, color is difficult for you, or it can be. For those of you that are like, I don't understand all these measurements, how can you possibly, like, contrast everything against everything? It's because they're just points in space. They're points in 3D space. And once you see that space, then you'll start to understand that contrast is just a measure of distance in that space. Okay? Or at least one way to look at it. All right. Let's turn all that off for a second and get back to actual coloring. If you guys have questions about that, fire away and we'll see what we can get to. But, all right. So to make this easy for us today, again, I just showed you it's complicated. Okay. So how do we fix this? Or how do we work with it if it's that complicated? We're going to start with one color where you have to pick a color. If you're going to work with saturation, you can't work with gray anymore. You have to make one choice. You have to make one choice, people. So I'm going to make a choice of using the fieriest orange that I can think of, because in my mind, in the back of this drawing, I am feeling all kinds of heat and yellows and oranges and reds and stuff like that. So I want to find a color that is kind of the middle of that vibe, okay? And in the case here, I think it's going to be orange, all right? So I'm going to make a new layer on top of all of this. And I'm going to set the mode to color to prove a point. I may or may not use this for actual coloring. But when I fill this, whoa, I'm going to put this back in CMYK so it doesn't bake my eyeballs. There we go. All right. So what does this mode do? Okay, this mode looks at the values and then it matches the color to the value in those two dimensions. So in this case, it's saying if you're on the top layer of this cake, okay, if you're a value that lives on the top of this cake, which is a bright value, we're going to lean that orange, but we're going to keep the value. Okay, it's still bright. If it's bright in the gray, it's going to be bright under this. If you're in the bottom part of this wheel, and you're in the darker oranges, or the darker values, then it's going to associate those darker colors with darker oranges. But what's interesting, when you look at this way, like if I go around here and start picking with my color picker, what do you guys notice about the actual color itself? The hue itself, there's a little jiggle in this from the CMYK conversion, but it's one color, okay? It's orange, all right? Contrast, so differing or comparing to, yes. Contrast is differences. It's just differences. And our eyes are drawn to areas of differences. Grass, 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 tiger, grass, like, okay? So this is all orange, all right? So what I'm actually going to do for this, for the sake of just simplicity in the video and editing and all this, I'm going to make some copies of what I've done in this layers, but I'm not actually going to merge all of this because I want to keep it flexible. But I'm going to take these three layers, the color layer, my highlights, and my base. And honestly, the base can probably... I'm going to keep that. Do I want to keep that separate? No, there's no need to keep that separate. I'm going to go ahead and merge my highlights down. So all of the values are now on this layer to make it simple for everybody. It's all right here. The color layer on top is shifting all of those colors toward orange. I'm going to merge that down also. Actually, I want to keep my values. That I do. Let's see. Control Z, Control V. And I'm going to base copy. Fantastic. I'm going to put it at the bottom. We'll call it values backup. There we go. Now I'm going to merge this down without fear because I have a copy of it. Now, this exercise, if you will pay attention, I promise will make you a better colorist today, okay? On the very next thing that you start to work on. So, I said earlier that I want the background to feel very warm, and I want the foreground to feel very cool, okay? We've established it's light and dark. We're going to start playing with color temperature. But I'm not going to change the color. I'm not going to change the hue at all. I'm only going to change the saturation, okay? So we've been working with value, and now we're adding saturation going across, okay? Which is a radius that spins around the color wheel. And so I'm going to select, I'm just going to select the background and then invert it so that I've got everything else selected. I'm going to hide the selection because I don't want to see that. And then I'm going to open up the hue saturation, which I have keyboard shortcuts for all of this, but if you go to edit, tonal correction, you've got all that stuff in here. And I'm going to turn the saturation down on the foreground. And it's getting grayer and grayer and grayer and grayer and grayer. And I'm going to get it all the way down to about right there. Feels like the right kind of gray to me. I actually want it to be even cooler, I think. So let's just go all the way. Let's go all the way to gray for now, with just a slight bit of saturation in it so we can edit the saturation later. So it's already looking a little bit cooler, relatively speaking. All right, it's looking cooler relative to the orange. So the next thing I'm going to do, what is the next thing that we want to do? I think I actually want to go ahead and get the background. Well, let's see. Do I want to add another color yet, or do I want to stick with my... Let's stick with my analogy for now. I'm thinking. Give me a second. I'm trying to think of the best way to take this forward in a way that makes sense, that will not confuse you guys. More of this needs to stay warmer for now. That's what I'm thinking. And instead of, I do this, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I reverted this. I undid some of my merging here because I haven't actually worked this way, but I'm trying to figure out the best way to show what I'm trying to show. And the best way is for most of this to stay warm. Okay. And I'm going to put a mask on the color layer and just paint away the color layer. And I reserve the right to decide this doesn't make any sense at all, but I think it will. Oops, I'm going to use my flats so I stay inside the lines. All right. So what I'm going to do I need to do the light side or the dark side? I need to do the shadows, actually. Maybe there's a slicker way to do this than what I'm trying to do. Let me think. If it's the shadow side, it makes more sense if the light is, yes, if the light is warm from behind, then you would absolutely get cooler shadows. So that's what I'm going to do. I am going into the shadows with a soft round brush on the mask, and I am removing it from the layer. So instead of the orange coming through, is this working? Oh, it would work better if I had a selection. Yes, it would. Okay. So now it's working. Okay, I am effectively now taking the orange away from the dark areas. And it is cooling it off because we're pulling it across the color wheel. Here's what that looks like. It's just a soft round brush. I'm not trying to reinvent all the stuff that I did already, so we know all of this is going to be cooler. Almost paint it all away. And I know I want this to be feel a little bit cooler, so I'm just painting away the orange. And I want this to be a little bit grayer, a little bit cooler, so I'm not getting all of it, but I'm dabbing a little bit on there to take the warmth out. All right, we're getting somewhere, we're getting somewhere. These colors, if I pick them, look, they're all still orange. They're all still orange. I'm just removing and desaturating that orange. So we're only affecting saturation right now. It's the only thing that we're affecting. Now, in some cases, it might shift the value perceptively darker because it's taking some of the warmth out of it. But we're really only playing in 2 dimensions right now. Now his skin is actually blue. So if I make it gray, it's too strong of a blue. It's too much. That's hilarious. I knew that was going to work. I didn't know it was going to work that well. Okay, so let's just desaturate this some more, and some more, and some more, until it starts to feel a little cool. What do you think? Like we might lean this a little bit actually to cool. But I'm thinking about right there. All right. So again, if I make a selection here and completely desaturate it, like, do you see the blue spot? Like, this is the power of relativity when it comes to saturation too, is it's gray. It's perfectly gray. I've made this example a bunch on this channel trying to show the power of this. And it impresses me every time that our eyes are that sensitive, you know? So let's see, what else? What else? So we've created another like pattern and broke it here, you know, just by having everything appear to be orange, and then he's gray, which breaks that pattern. You guys with me? You guys got quiet, so hopefully that means it was good. All right, let's see what happens, because I don't even know. I'm not going to pretend to know. If we lighten this, look at that. It starts to cool off. That's gray. That's perfectly gray. But Skeletor is actually yellow. So I'm going to put more saturation in it to warm it toward the warm side. And splitting the difference creates a different color. It's cool, right? Contrast and color clicked for me once I thought of it like any other thing drawing. Contrast and line weights, level of detail, exactly. That is the key to everything. What Kia D just said is the key to understanding art. Is that it's all a spectrum, and that we're measuring differences in tension with whether it's value, whether it's saturation, whether it's hues that are warm and cool, whether you had a bad day or a good day, or you're sad or you're happy. You know, it's actually happy is less tension than sad. It's like anger, and then this is like contentment's just hanging like in a hammock. right? Color and art, all this stuff's the same way. All right, so his bones look too orange. What do you think we need to do? We're gonna desaturate him. A little bit warmer than his face to keep his face under a lot of contrast. Now, some of this, I want to start playing around with the values a little bit. But I can do that underneath, you know, it's like, so if I want to, I can select all of his skin, and let's say that I want to just even it out a little bit, that he's a little too men's fitness cover than he needs to be, slightly, degrees, okay? So I'm going to do this with like hue with a levels correction. I'm going to go the wrong way first, and then bringing the mid-tones up is exactly what this needed. So this is dark, tons and tons of contrast between everything, and I need your eye to be able to rest a little bit on his chest, because you got his face in here, you got the bones, there's a lot of detailed stuff going on. And so if I bring this to the left a little bit from the middle, then that actually, it takes that tension high and low and it brings it down a little bit, right? Because we've actually taken instead of just having light and dark holding on to each other, we've actually got some grays in the middle, like providing some structure, you know. So yeah, something like that. If I want to darken the darks, I can. I don't want to. If I want to lighten the lights, I can. Looks like I do want to a little bit. And this thing is actually meant to be that color. Sorry, let me fix this real quick. There's like a error in the flats or the values or something. Easy to fix. We just go underneath. Once you have the selection, and fill that with the same color that was over there. So it's the same orange. It's on everything else. That looks better. I was like, why didn't that work? Now it looks like it works better. All right. The other thing is his costume is purple, right? Like his cape is purple. So we have to get as far away from orange as we possibly can. Because that's opposite. Okay. If we go all the way, it looks blue. So if I tone it back a little bit, it starts getting warmer. If I saturate it, it goes red. So yeah, that's as close to purple, quote unquote, as I'm going to get in this color, which means you can't really get purple. We might introduce a second color at some point. What else? This is meant to be that. Oh, and we'll just smudge that up. Is that right? Is it the mask? Nope. Yeah, if you ever make a mistake like this, I tend to just, well, unless it doesn't move. Where is that coming from? Oh, it's in the base colors. Yeah, so we'll just blend that right in like we meant to do it. And let's see, what else? So this cape, I think we actually need that to be a little bit more saturated. Okay, I think I've got everything about like I want it. Okay. Well, let's see. His gauntlets and whatnot are a little hot. So again, I'm just going to turn the saturation down a little bit. There we go. All right. I literally just inked Skeletor drawing I was proud of and then tried to paint it, and now it's ruined. I wish I would have waited a couple weeks for this video. You'll do better on the next one. You'll always do better on the next one. All right. Now, I want these things to be a little bit cooler so that we've got some nice contrast with what's behind them. So again, just I think I did something with this earlier and then accidentally did something else. I'm bringing that a little bit more toward gray so that it looks like dead bones. There we go. All right, and Pepsi challenge, if I pick all of these colors going all the way down, I never left orange. But I want you guys to notice like the difference that you can get out of just one color. If I wanted something cooler, I took saturation out of it, you know? If I wanted it warmer, add it back. It's a great way to like build a palette from the ground up. That needs to be dark. Yeah, that's way better. All right. So I actually don't like how he's just perfectly gray everywhere. And so I'm actually going to get that orange. And we're going to paint that a little bit back in here. Along the shadow side just a little bit. I got a little overzealous. Yeah, I just want it to not be all gray. There we go. There we go. Much better, much better. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? Is everybody with me? You have a video explaining the difference of RGB and CMYK. Yes. Look for unprintable on my channel. It's are you using unprintable colors? It talks about color gamuts. All right. I want to adjust the values under this thing. I think, yeah, it's just a little too intense. I'm doing this on the values underneath, and it's still just affecting it because I've got all the layers on the color layer on top. There we go. That was a little too intense. A little too intense. This is a good time to like push and pull your values a little bit. You know, it's like if I want this to come out just a little bit more, it's like I can just actually it's good to do on a layer on top. You can adjust it, but bring little sections out push little sections back. Alrighty. Don't want to include that. All right. Now, I'm not going to end this drawing or this coloring with just orange. I just wanted to show you that it's possible. But now we're going to add another color. I want to start adding some warmth to the background and get some other colors in there. I also want to tie what's all here in, I think, a little bit cooler and a little bit more toward actual blue. And so I'm going to select all of that, which is just everything except the background. I think I'm going to we'll try hard light first. We might try an overlay. But I want this to be cool. Hard light's going to affect the, well, it's going to affect everything. It's just whether or not you want the orange on top of it, and I don't. I want that orange to keep coming through, and there's some places where I actually seem to have, what did I do there? I erased something on his leg, on some layer. That layer? Yeah, it's that layer. Sorry, let me fix this real quick. It's that gray. Oh, I erased it. That's what happened. I erased it completely. There we go. Just had to go back on the mask. All right, so I think hard light is going to darken the lights, which I don't really want. Let's try overlay is going to shift the colors more than I want. This is kind of an experiment at this point. Bear with me a moment. Do I think is saturation the answer here? I think once that's purple, it'll look awesome. And also, this thing has got too much blue in it. So I'm going to paint that out. So what does this look like if we actually use purple? That'll be good. Yeah, that'll be good on his cape. All right, so we're going to grab the cape and this thing. And again, it's just a hard light layer. I'm going to shift this. Actually, I don't want to shift it because that'll change the hue. What if we adjust the color mode? I'm trying stuff right now. We're in experimental mode. Yeah, I think this is where we're going to be. It's too saturated. Interesting. Okay, so if that's... Yeah, sorry, I'm trying stuff. You guys will have to bear with me a second. What if... Let's see, let's get rid of that. Get rid of this layer for a second. Because it's not doing what I wanted anyway. What do I need this to do? Yeah, I've never actually tried exactly what I'm trying with you guys, so I apologize if this is that all stuff needs to lean purple, but not this. Is that everything except for... I need to change this in the flats because I keep missing it. I'll do it later. All of that stuff. Sorry, let me even this out. This is meant to be gray. There we go. I'm like, why does this look weird? Okay. So if I use overlay to lean this purple, it gets into the oranges and does weird things that we can paint out later. Yeah, we just need this to go in the direction of purple. Just in the direction of purple. And then his mask actually leans yellow, right? Where is my Skeletor reference? I should know him from memory. As much as I watched He-Man growing up. What is an ideal brightness setting for the Cintiq display? It depends on your room, but I'll say it's probably less bright than what you have it on average for most people. Like I don't know what mine is at, and I don't even know how to check. It's low. I want to say like 25, 30, 40% brightness. Let me thank you in advance for this one. This is one of your best videos and color classes. You love this one. Awesome, awesome. So, let's see. I'm going to turn this yellow down a little bit. It's a little intense. And I think I actually do want him to be a little closer to the color that he is. It's still going to be pretty gray given this palette. Right about there. Take in some saturation out of those bones on his chest. That's going to lighten them up. We'll leave his championship belt. I hear Cape. Is something wrong? Here, Gavin's here. Hey, Gavin, what's going on? Is something wrong? Is the cape good? Is everything supposed to be what it's supposed to be? My regulars know that I don't do back seating, and so unless there's something that's just wrong. And so I think it's all good now. Doug was asking why use a color layer instead of an overlay layer. I'll show you. It'll be very obvious once you see it. So if if I make this gray, I'm gonna take this back to grayscale. That's a color mode layer, by the way. And if I make roughly the same color orange in color mode, and here's the same thing in overlay mode. Overlay, unless you darken it, introduces some value also, okay? Color mode can't do that. Like if I change this to color mode and just fill it, like that's kind of where I started, right? Just really intense orange. But you see how like this light is still very light and that like is still very dark. If I change it to a brighter version of this color, like it desaturates a little bit because it's closer to white, but in darkening, of course, we're adding black, and so that takes it away. But it doesn't really affect the values, right? I mean, all these swings here up and down, the values are still the values. But if I change this to overlay and start changing the values, it changes the values, okay? And like that's fine if that's the look you're going for. You want to use it like that, whatever, you know. But it's not how I want to use it if I'm trying to keep the values intact, which we spent all of last stream trying to keep the values done. So yeah, I'm trying to keep all that a little bit more settled, you know. I'm going to just select the bones for a second. I didn't really separate them from everything else last time. So, is that all of them? That's pretty dang close. Yeah, so I'll go ahead. I'm going to go down to my flats and actually separate that into a different value or different color just so it's not the same as the rocks. And we're going to turn the saturation on that down to gray out the bones a little bit. Which is going to, again, it's creating separation from the orange of the background. And you've noticed there's been a lot of push and pull with this. Like, oh, this needs to be darker now. This needs to be lighter now. This, needs that. Like, I want, even though I colored them the same value, I want these bones to actually be grayer and cooler than what's next to them. So again, lower the saturation. All right. Now the other thing I'm going to do here on this hard light layer, I'm actually going to paint some of that out of the darker spots. Just a little bit so that it's not only that brightness everywhere, because like the shadows on this would be pretty cool. You could also do like, I mean, there's a lot of ways to do this. Do the hard light layer on top. Maybe not that saturated. But yeah, it keeps him from just being like a chunk of yellow, which he kind of felt like. And let's see. I'm not used to this new keyboard yet. I have to keep looking at my hands. All right. How to do glowing eyes. I'm first going to follow the contours of the socket. We're going to make the glow contain to the socket. and give it some direction. And then go down to the, did I just paint that on the inks layer? I did. Let's not do that. I'm like, why did the other eye thing go away? Yeah, there we go. Let's go back to there. Oh, yeah, all my shortcuts, sorry. They're all slow right now. But now I've got the added shape of his socket, like making that look better. And then I'll just invert the what's in the inks and paint that on top. He looks mean now. I got a little bit overzealous with my, yeah, that shouldn't be that cool. Yeah, I'm gonna drag some of this yellow back over. There we go. There was a mosquito villain figure that had a button on the back that pumped blood to his chest cavity. Oh my god. That's hilarious. Alright. He's still, on average, more colorful than I anticipated this being. I'm not opposed to it. I need to, yeah. I'm desaturating all of this on a layer on top. It was all a little too cooking, yeah. And in the background, all right, we really can't get much warmer except for red in the background. So on a new layer on top, actually I'll do this on that 45% hard light layer. It'll probably keep it subtle. I want to give this a little bit more contrast out here, but then I really want to blow this out with yellow. We don't have enough yellow on here right now. Oh, that's brightening. Yeah, that overlay is brightening. I don't want it to brighten. Why is Clip being so slow? Clip's being weird, y'all. Bear with me a second. I'm having to try stuff. There we go. Now let's invert that. So now we got all of this selected. We're really just tweaking at this point. I'm going to do some other stuff to this, but I'm wanting this to all be, well, I want to include that stuff at the bottom also. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to invert this to get everything except the background. And then color balance? I asked you guys, like, you might know. I'm just trying to tie it all together a little bit more than it is. The other thing that needs to happen here is that feel like I got out of hand with the layers all of a sudden, but sorry. I was trying a bunch of stuff. So yeah, I want to take some of this yellow that's in the background and bring it into this orange so that it's not all just orange. Yeah, and it gives it just a little bit of spreading the orange around, as Bob Ross would say. It's getting there. Went to make some coffee and turned into something awesome. Yeah, this one went very quickly once I got that yellow that I wanted. It's still not, it's actually darkened that background a little bit more than I would have originally thought that I wanted. But I don't think we need it to be white. I think that's like, or close to white. I'm going to paint some of that yellow effect out to intensify the background. Are we feeling like I'm trying to channel what's his name from the man, I can't think of his name. That's terrible. Some old fantasy painter that popped into my head just now. All right. What else? What else? So this is a pretty good base. So I want to do some. Ow. Sorry, my knee needs to move. I have vision of something with this that is not quite there, but it's close. I want to. All right, we're gonna experiment here for a second. Does anybody have any questions so far? Is there something that I like? Yeah, Vallejo. Yeah, that yellow to red made me think of him. Yeah. I'm just desaturating that skull a little bit so that he's grayer than what's around it. Again, he doesn't have to be gray, just grayer than what's around it. All right. So I think I like mostly where this is headed, but there's some specifics that need to be addressed, I think, because it's still, there's a busyness in the rendering on my part that I feel. Oh, it's interesting. You can see here's all the dark colors starting here, going to the midtones. And then here's the midtones working their way toward the white also. Interesting. All right, here's what I'm thinking. I want to... I'm afraid it's too colorful for what I originally intended. So I'm going to try something here. Let's see. Let's just start. Let's start with a dark color. On an actual layer. And I'm going to lower the opacity down to about right there. What is that? 55%. 50%. What does 21% look like? 21% doesn't do it for me. I think that does. All right. I don't want, all right, this is shadows. I don't want this, I don't think it is, but let me make sure. Yeah, it's not covering his eye stuff because his eye stuff is on top. My computer is being slow. What is it doing that it's slow? So this gets me closer to the contrast that I wanted between the foreground and the background. I'm going to put a mask on this. And I'm going to see what happens if we paint that away. Real quick, I just want to see what this looks like. I think that does what I want it to do. I don't know though. Let me try something else real quick. Hold on. This is like going to be a very rough, like value type check situation. That's there. This is like not that chunky over here. Okay. If that wasn't there, and instead of doing that, I reserve the right to undo all of this. I'm trying to decide if I think I want to push all of that I've done into the shadows. I don't think I do. I think I'm going to try, what is it? What do they call it on it reminded me of episode 1 Star Wars where he's like, let's try spinning. That's a cool trick. Like, let's try a rim light. That's a cool trick. So let's select all of him again. And this time, I'm going to do this kind of messy, and then we'll tighten it up. I want to see if I like what this does, or if it screws up the silhouette or something. We've got like an excuse to pop that hand a little bit. Like that kind of thing. Do we like that? Was it neat? What if it was white? What if it was... Wasn't that a time to kill? Wasn't. What if she was white? It's like, Kurt, where did the blue light come from? Shh. Don't ruin it. The yellow light really nails it. That was my instinct too. Yeah, my instinct was the yellow with some orange flavoring. Yeah, that's what it's gonna be. That's what it's gonna be. Okay, I'm excited. Um, that's the plan. I'm taking a middle image of this. You guys can do that, right? Um, yeah, this thing is gonna be it's gonna be nice, is what it's gonna be. It's gonna be nice. Actually, I want all of this to be orange. Super saturated orange. And let's see, I'm going to put that in hard light mode. And where am I? Let's see, that color. All right, yeah, this is definitely the point that we could overcook this whole thing and and ruin it. So we're going to try not to do that. And we'll just flip back and forth to this yellow for like specularness, and we'll just we'll keep doing that. Yeah, some of these rim lights, they don't just end, right? Because like the thing has to wrap around, like it makes the arm look like it's got some shape. Like rim lights don't just mean trace the edge. Like, not what it means. And I'm also thinking about how this is effectively going to, like, I'm framing his head a bit with this, right? I don't know if I like that. Do 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 do. I really just want like the light, like just barely grabbing the edge of his face, right? Makes it look a little bit more dramatic. Don't know if I like that one. Let's see. Yeah, and this light is also one of those like magical lights that just happens to follow all around the places on this drawing that I want to direct your eye to, you know. Just happens to work out that way. As I'm thinking about this, I was thinking I've got to do more painting and drawing on the channel just in general. There's a lot of lessons to be learned. I'm just pulling this out a little bit. Again, Bob Ross style, passing the color around or spreading the color around. And let's see, all of these bones. Who drew all these bones? Whose idea was this? No, this is very nice, very nice. Just means I got a bunch of bones to detail here real quick. Questions, comments, concerns? We're coming into... I think we're getting close to the end of this one. Unless I find another pass of lighting that I want to do on this. Don't forget to like the stream, y'all. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. Alrighty. Is the keyboard you have a Moon keyboard with mechanical switches? I don't know if no, they're cheapo, whatever. It's like a $30 keyboard, you know. All right. What happens if we triple all of that? Maybe doubling it helped. Yeah, I do that sometimes. I'll paint something and then like if it's a little too strong for what I want, I'll just double it. Or if it's not quite strong enough, just double the layer and then like go to the second layer and calm it down like where you don't want it. And some places where it's like it's a little too harsh, you can paint that away. All right. I think the only question left for me is, do I want like the purple to be purple? I'm thinking. I never did fix this, so I have to keep fixing that. Is that all the would-be purple stuff? So yeah, I'm taking some of that shadow out of this layer, just turned it down. Just desaturated that blue to warm it toward purple. Like you do. I want to say, I really think, yeah, it's not like I want, like that purple is so iconic. And I'm trying to sneak it in here without really using it. Because up against this palette, like, I think it's cool that it doesn't have it. But man, does the purple look good. I was thinking the purple would look good. Doesn't need to be so intense though. I just want it leaning purple enough to read as purple. I think that's it. All right, so finishing touches on this one. I ended up changing the plan a little bit from my original, but I like how this turned out. It's kind of subtle everywhere. Lighting wise, but I think I like it like this. Like I feel like I do sort of wish that I had what do I wish this had? Turn that down a little bit. Or up a little bit. I'm playing around here, but yeah, we're somewhere in there. It's degrees at this point. Sorry, I'm still trying. I'm still experimenting. I did a little bit of a glow over the, like, behind him, as if there's a, like, a little bit of a bloom effect, and then painting it out to reinforce the shape of his head. And this arm just coming out of it. Yeah, there's still a bit of a value sameness to this that's bugging me a little bit. Yeah. Do I like that? Oh, we don't like that. It's overcooked. As always, overcook it and then turn it down. And as a last sort of tie it all together type situation, I'm going to play around with curves adjustments a little bit to, like, just intensify this a little bit more after I took some of the intensity back out. And let's see. Tell you what, I'm gonna make a selection on just him and then go into the tone curve and play around with this a little bit. Cool that off. If that, yeah, we can lean a little green. I'm not opposed to that. And then for the background, I'm going to do another tone curve. And just brighter, more intense. All right, I think I like it. How are we doing time-wise? Oh, right at 2 hours. So this was like 4 or 5 hours. Yeah, something like that. That sounds about right. It's a lot of detail. Let's see. Calming the Layer sounds like a song made by knockoff Linkin Park. That's funny. Let's see. I'll get you, He-Man. That's right. I can hear it. I'll get you, He-Man. I just thought this song Numb. Oh yeah. Is this gonna be a cover? It's a commission. I don't know if there are any plans for it. Maybe a print or something one day. But yeah, well, I thank you guys for hanging out. I hope you learned something. I'll zoom up on this real close and let you guys see. There's a lot of nice details in this. As in the drawing that I'm just, tried to keep up with. And I really like how this turned out. Thanks to Gavin for letting me do this on the stream. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to take those before we wrap it up today. Anything you were like, wait, what was that? You watch the whole thing, definitely taking notes. Awesome. Yeah, I'll take this. Let me save this before I forget. And I'm going to go ahead and export. Oh, I need to fix their signature. Hold on. The signature is very dark on this. I think it's saving the video, and the video is a lot on this. It's a lot of brushstrokes here. Come on, you can do it. Maybe we killed it. I don't know what happened. Let me wait on this thing to stop, I guess. Hopefully it'll come back. Chroma is value or hue. I think that's another name for hue. You can hear it called that. You do have a quick whoa, what is this thing doing? Hopefully this doesn't crash. If it does, hope we enjoyed it. Maybe we can cut it together from the video. I do have a quick unrelated question. If you want to transition to a complementary color, you could go either way around the color wheel. What might affect which way you choose to go? You're scared? Let me see what, yeah, I would be scared too. It's really being strange right now. Let's see. There it goes. Oh man, let me export this son of a gun before whatever. I don't even know if I'm done yet, but I gotta save this before something happens. The way you go around the color wheel is just the temperature of the palette that you're in. Like, a lot of times the decision is going to be dictating by which colors you're trying to get through. You know, if you're trying to get to red to green, there's only two ways to go, really. You go through orange or you go through blue. Like, you go through warm or you go through cool. So, like, if you want, it depends on what you're doing at that point. I mean, if you need warmth, then go through the warmer colors. If you need cooler, then go through the cooler colors. But chances are, you already have a palette that you have the answer for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't have the answer before you get to that point, then look at the color palette. Like, then decide what you're doing. Like, and that will actually say, like this one, I wanted to feel mostly warm, but also like had a lot of contrast and just had a lot of what are relatively desaturated versions of these colors, you know, versus all the warm stuff that's really intense. So, like, as I'm trying to decide between colors, if I was, you know, here trying to get to a warm color, then I'm going to get grayer. But up here, obviously, it's going to go warmer if I'm in a warmer color. So it just depends on what you're kind of what you're doing. Hopefully that answers your question. Like, because your palette's going to determine that. Like, you're making a choice in the third color by which way you choose. You know, it's like I've got green, I've got red. Do I want to add yellow to this, an orange, or do I want to add blue and green to this? You know, and decide from there. And then you've got the direction the colors need to go, because it should technically stay in the palette. If we were working traditionally, you wouldn't have that problem. Anyway, I think that's all I've got for today. So yeah, I appreciate everybody hanging out. And YouTube is telling me that if I turn on ads, I get a 20% uplift in stream revenue on average per hour. So instead of, 37 cents, we make 42 cents or whatever. Anyway, whatever. No, we're not going to do that, YouTube. Leave me alone. But yeah. All right, guys. I don't see any more questions. So thanks so much. Yes, Clip does freeze sometimes. And we just hope for the best. But yeah, what I'm hoping to do is we should watch the time lapse real quick before I wrap this up. I gotta export it anyway. But yeah, I wanted a time lapse file so that I could slow it down and stop it and all that. And I'll take what I've said in this video, hopefully, and chop it down into something coherent for people to get. But it really is, I don't mean this just because, but like there really is a very solid foundation in, it will build a solid foundation in your color theory if you learn to build it from within its structure. It's like being told when you're confused about picking colors, it's like you're being asked to build a building and you don't have blueprints yet. Like, you just start, all right, I'll put a brick down, but I don't know where I'm going. Like, if you start with the values, then you're building toward all of the colors you want to use, Going from grayscale, you're in one dimension. This is kind of a recap, I guess. And then we added saturation to add the second dimension. And then you have the hue, which is your third. So all of those measurements you're making, there's two axes you're trying to measure the distance in between here. 3, actually. One rotates around one of the axes, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. All right, I want to see the time lapse on this myself. Let's see. Where? Let's see. Sort by date. I thought that I saved this in this. Oh, there it is. So I kind of stuck to that initial plan, but not too close. So this was the flatting part. That's going to go by pretty fast. Dark shape, create a light shape behind it. And within the dark shape, I'm staying basically below 50% gray so that I can save all my highlights for when I'm done. But everything that I'm using and all the values that I'm picking at every point, I'm comparing it to what's around it and what's right next to it. It's not random. How far should this come forward? How far should this go back? Like, always look in the immediate vicinity, and you'll have your answer for like what that color should be. And a lot of this is going to be detailing that you're barely probably going to see, but there'll be a little bit of detail coming in here. Can I do, oh, I can make it a little bit bigger. But still, all the values in that dark shape are, even at this point, most of those are still less than 50% gray. And so again, this really sort of shows how if you have the values down, then you've got the associated color. At least you've got a ballpark, you know. So you're triangulating the color you need with how bright does this need to be, how dark does this need to be, how saturated does this need to be, how desaturated does this need to be. And all of a sudden you're in the right vibe there, and you're leaning the color warm, cool, you know. And yeah, this is just all the highlights I'm doing just in white because it's really thin, hatchy, and if I want gray, I just make less of it. You know, it mixes with what's underneath to create the gray tones. And we're coming out to the end of last stream and then today's stream. There was a lot of lessons in there. If you missed it, go back and watch. More details, more details. A lot of white in that leg to pull it forward from everything else, a little more than the rest. Same thing with the rocks. I'm not drawing attention to places that don't need it. Oh, there's the 3D color wheel, the color cake. I made a video called Color is a Piece of Cake. You should go watch it. And now I'm just removing, I put an orange overlay or an orange color mode layer on top of this. Everything you see that's cool is just me taking that away. And everything you see that's warm is making it orange. And then we added all the color. The rest of the owl. Did I pause it? What just happened? Oh, the video paused, yeah. Cooled it off even more in the shadows because I really wanted it to be cooler than it was. And a little rim light around everything that it may or might not need. A glow that it may or might not need, and then there's the end. So there you go. If you missed the first half of this, then it's the last video that I made on the stream, so go watch that. If your shadows are below 50%, what percentage usually start with your lights? I didn't think about it in those terms. It's, if you think about it more in terms of this, so like, this is 50% gray that you're looking at. And my darks, you know, are in the inks. I really don't do a lot of adjusting in the darks, all right? And then you got the whites up here. So all of my shadows, you know, I'm keeping in the 50% or less range, let's say. So it's doing whatever it's doing. But the lights depend on what you're trying to do. You know, it's like if I need a bright light in an area like this, and I need it to be significantly, like I need you to notice, I could do this, and that comes forward, you know, like that thing breaks that black pattern. If I want to break it subtly, then I use a color that's closer to it. You know, I'm using a color that's closer to the black to create a subtle focal point. You know, maybe this is a guy's shoulder or something. But if I want my, whatever it is I'm doing, the light hitting to really show up and really be like a sharp edge or really like define something, then I'm pulling very far away from what's underneath. I'm getting far away from the black, you know. But if I still want this white to be a highlight against all of that stuff, well, I can't pick a color that's close to that. You know, if I pick this color and go, I'm just going to make my highlight this, and a lot of people do this, and they go, here's my highlight. Isn't it awesome? And it's like, sort of. I mean, it's poorly defined, and it doesn't stand out very much, and it whatever. And maybe it doesn't need to. But your highlights are where differences show themselves. you know? And so, like, if you want something to come forward against the things around it, then you increase the distance from what's around it. Don't think in absolute terms of this is a bright white, you know, but this one's not, you know, because if this is my canvas, this is a very bright color. You know, it's like I could build an entire canvas, let's say, out of like the bottom quarter of the color picker and have a really interesting composition that doesn't do anything except stay below like whatever that is, you know, that color. If I create enough space around it, if I create enough of a pattern around it, it doesn't matter what the color is or what the value is or whatever. It's just that it's different. And that's all that matters. It's different enough that it shows. You know? And so there's no rule for your highlights should be this. You know? Because like sure there are drawings where you need bright white, but it's like again, just to beat this point completely home another way, what if this was my canvas? And this is the thing that I've framed it with, and this is my focal point. I created a pattern that is similar to itself and then increased the tension to that point from white to black. So do you feel how that black pulls on all that white, and it really like appears to, it's very different from everything else on the canvas. So you can't help but not notice it. Just in the same way that if I come over here and go this, I've just changed the focal point of this palette because I increased, not really the whole focal point, I have to make it a little bit bigger too probably. I do that. It's a little bit too close to the other one. I've changed the focus because of the distance, okay? Now the other part of this that people confuse, because they go, oh, I thought only the highlight stuff can be bright. No. What if these are all the highlights? And they're just supporting this darker shape here. The light shapes then form a pattern that I'm breaking with the dark and then breaking with the midtone. Same thing here. Like, oh, in this version, then if everything's light, only the black thing can be important. No. Like, this could look like this. This is all the same dark color. And I've still got it framed in a way that it's drawing focus to this point. I'm using dark colors all over the place. I'm using light colors all over the place. As long as they form a pattern, it doesn't matter. They just have to make a pattern that you can break. And if you don't make the pattern strong enough, then you can't break it. That's the other thing here. It's like, and I have a hard time, honestly, and I don't mean this with any ego, but it's hard for me to think in really wrong values. But if I were to come in here and just like it's making a pattern regardless of what I'm doing. There we go. That is royally pretty screwy to look at. Like, what's the pattern here? Where is it moving light? Where is it moving dark? Does it feel, does it make you feel anything? Like, does it feel foreboding? Does it feel like it's, it feels random. So if I try to break this pattern, I've got to do something different than all of this here, but this isn't defined well enough. There's straight lines, there's curved lines, there's the round thing, there's, I don't know what this is over here. I have a hard time breaking this pattern unless I do something just very different and go, okay, I'm going to change the color, I'm going to do something that doesn't appear anywhere else. I can still make this into something, but I've got to tie it together into some kind of pattern first so that I can then break it. That's the only way I know to explain this right now. That's the simplest I can make this. So, if you can understand these concepts, you can do anything. Because you can look at any piece of art, a brochure, still from a movie, whatever. Look out your window, probably. You will find patterns. And then you'll notice something about that stands out. And it's the key to making good art decisions, making good color decisions. So yeah. Thank you guys again for watching. I was going to end this 20 minutes ago. But yeah, I hope you guys learned something from all of my mad scientist rantings. We'll do this again soon. Next week, probably. Holidays are coming up. Who knows? But yeah. If you have a chance, check out the statue room of Super Metroid. Would be a great use of color palette with hues and value. I gotta look. Statue room Super Metroid. Mysterious statue chamber? Is that it? Let's see. Where's whoops. Need large ones? Okay, here we go. Yeah. Yeah, this is it at play. Exactly. Excellent observation. So we have, I'll give you this quick example, then I'm leaving. So first, it's all very dark. The background's mostly black, all right? And then this down here, very dark, all right? So that establishes this pattern. All right? And then we're going to break that pattern with lighter values. Okay? There's level 1. You know, if you want to see this, just make a new layer, fill it with gray, and set the mode to color. And it's very clear. There's lights and there's dark. So that's like the first line here. And then we've got purple and blue and green. Green and blue and purple. The background is green and blue for the most part. They broke that pattern by leaning it yellow. And then the whole green, yellow, blue complex is broken by the purple. And then we still need something to separate this little guy, so they made him gray and took the saturation out. So they broke the pattern that way, where everything else is about the same saturation level except for him. And then you got the purple against the green and yellow. So yeah, this is like, once you see it, you will see it everywhere. You will see it everywhere. The chamber room that has 4 bosses probably looks the same. Or similar ideas, anyway. But yeah. That room is iconic. I never got into Metroid. A little bit. I just didn't. I was a Super Mario, a little Sonic. Never got into Metroid. Anyway. See y'all next time. Oh, click buttons, buy stuff that you see from people like me that you enjoy. Later.